One final question. Again, Secretary Wolfowitz, this is, again, to be fair, and I want to shoot straight with you on this. We have Mr. Clarke coming up tomorrow, and he has a reference in his book to a to an April 30th deputies meeting, where he claims, and we want to know if this is accurate or not so that we can ask him the direct questions tomorrow. He claims that in this meeting, when they're talking about a plan to go forward to go after bin Laden and al-Qaeda, that you brought up the subject of Iraq, and that you said you put too much attention on Iraq as a sponsor, as a state sponsor of terrorism, and not enough emphasis on al-Qaeda as a transnational sponsor of terrorism. I have just two comments or two questions on that. One would be, is that fairly accurate? Is his portrayal of that deputies meeting accurate at all, or accurate to some degree? And secondly, in an interagency meeting where dialogue and discussion of these things should take place, that's what the interagency process is about, isn't that where these discussions should take place? That opinions should be bounced back and forth and debate should be heated at times about the different threats to the world.
Thanks for giving me a chance to comment. Before I do that, let me just make a comment on the last exchange you had with Secretary Rumsfeld.
Please.
And it applies to quite a few comments, including Senator Gordon's question about the luxury of 7 months. I think there's a basic difficulty of understanding what a plan really is. A plan is not a military option. Military option is to a plan what a single play in football is to a whole game plan. And this notion that there's a single thing that if we'd only done it, it would work, is like a Hail Mary pass in football, which is what a desperate losing team does in a hope that maybe they can pull things off at the end. A plan has got to anticipate what the enemy will do next. It has to anticipate what the government of Pakistan will do. It has to anticipate what world reaction will be. It has to go down many pathways, and it's not a timetable. No one can tell you what's going to happen next. You have to be able to call plays and call audibles, and that's why to put a plan together in 7 months wasn't a long period of time. Even if we'd had everybody on board, it was actually rather fast. And I give you as an illustration, in 2002, in January, when the president said, okay, I want to see military options for Iraq, it wasn't until 9 months later, I believe, that he finally said, okay, I see that we have a military option against Iraq. And that still wasn't a plan, because that only allowed him to go to the United Nations and be prepared to use all necessary means. It wasn't a decision to use all necessary means, and General Franks' planning continued for another 5 or 6 months. So I think there's a failure to understand just how complex planning is. And we could get into this, but to Senator Gordon, I fail to understand how anything done in 2001 in Afghanistan would have prevented 9/11. And certainly, Congressman Roemer, the option you present of killing a few relatively low-level al-Qaeda in some camp in Afghanistan might have been a worthy thing to do as part of a general plan, but it certainly wasn't going to affect 9/11,
Well,
except,
Paul,
except as the Secretary said, to have made 9/11 look like a retaliation. So let's keep some clarity.